Before the show gets started, if you're a first-time listener, my guest today is a frequent guest, Karen Rontowski. When I introduced her, I just called her my friend, but she is also a very talented comedian and a paranormal investigator who has been on TV shows doing both things. I just got a concussion a few hours before we recorded this, and I tried to make this as coherent as possible when I edited it, but I think I'm the only person in podcasting to ever record a show while knowingly suffering from a concussion while recording it. We talked about how that happened and some medical stuff for the first 10 minutes, but then Karen tells me a story that blew me away. I hope you enjoy it.
Welcome to We Don't Have Cookies with your host, Jason Marshall.
Hey everybody, thanks for downloading the show. I feel like I flubbed that, but I'm not going back and editing. It's going to be a quick one today. With me right now is my friend, Karen Rontowski. I've been wanting to have her on for a while, and thankfully we have her today. So how you doing, Karen?
Yay! I'm doing okay. I'm up in upstate New York in a windstorm, but visiting my folks. So I'm sort of cramped in the corner of a old age home, just hoping no one comes by, because when they come by, they start asking a lot of questions because I think they don't know I'm on the phone. So we'll do the best we can.
I know how that goes. My mom was in one for a while, and they're very talkative there.
Yes, yeah. And also, when we taped my podcast here, my sister comes over and we read ghost stories, and sometimes my parents come in and just start asking questions, and we leave it in because it's just kind of like, whatever.
I like, as a listener, I like hearing that stuff. It just, I don't know, there's something quaint about it. It's nice.
Right. And you know what else? I think there's two kinds of podcasts. Like there's one I love called Haunted Places, but it's almost like someone reading a story to you. It's almost like a book on Audible. Mm-hmm. And then there are the ones where you sort of find your hosts as friends, and I want to be everyone's friend.
Yeah, that's a good way to go about it. And hopefully the people listening to this feel the same way.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's funny you said that you were in a windstorm up there, because I mentioned this on my last podcast. Every time it rains, for some reason, something happens with my well, and the water in the house is just muddy for hours. And
oh, wow.
The other day, it rained from about 11 p.m. till, I don't know, 1 a.m. the next, for about 26 hours, it just rained straight. And I wasn't able to use my water for about 37 hours of that, right?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And
do you have a water supply like we are supposed to have with our earthquake equipment in California?
No, I just got a well. We're not connected to any city water or anything like that.
But have you ever thought about putting bottles of water off to the side or something?
We do have bottled water here, so that's good. We have, I think they're 5 or 10 gallon jugs. So we got 3 of those. So that's not as bad, as it could be.
So wait, your water comes directly from a well?
Yeah. Yeah.
And is it filtered at all? Obviously not if mud is coming in.
No. I have to have a water softener, which is horrible because when it rains, I have to run the water for hours to get the muddy water cycled out, right? And by the time I do that, my water softener pretty much uses all the salt. And
what is a water softener that you put in there? That's not like chlorine, right?
No, it just uses these, I forget what kind of salt it is, but they're really big rectangular forms of salt.
Oh, is it Himalayan rock salt?
I have no clue. I should know, and we'll get to why I probably don't here in a minute. But during that, this was even worse, is there was a tornado warning. And the basement, the cellar was flooded. So we're in the cellar, the lights are flickering and stuff. And it's kind of a creepy place to be anyway, but with the water.
All cellars are creepy. Even when they try and make them into game rooms, they're all creepy.
Yeah, it's not a good situation. And thankfully the tornado hit a couple of miles away from us, so we were okay. But today the cellar's still flooded, and I went down to add salt to the water softener because, like I said, it pretty much runs all the salt out of there. And
Right.
I'm lugging like these 840-pound bags of salt to the cellar. And midway through, I slipped down my cellar stairs. I hit my head on the heading for the cellar doors. And I took about 2 steps forward. And next thing I know, I wake up and I'm laying on this wooden pallet in front of all the flood water on the cellar floor. So,
Oh no.
yeah. So thankfully I landed on the pallet and not in the puddle of water. It might have ended differently,
Right.
but,
So actually, it's a good day. You saved your own life today.
yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
But the doctor said I have a concussion and I'm going to be sore for a few days. For some reason, I must have, when I passed out and fell, I must have hit kind of hard.
But he didn't say you had to stay awake for 24 hours. Is that not true with concussions anymore?
I do have to stay awake, and my wife has been very adamant about that, and she won't go away. She is by my side, making sure that I don't fall asleep watching TV or something like that, which is very sweet. But I'm one of those people. I like to be active, and I'm always doing something. And she wants me to just sit down, and I got a lot of stuff I want to do, and she's like, no, you just need to sit down and watch some TV shows with me. You don't need to be up moving around. And it's really hard for me to do. So.
This year, 2018, I'm so anxious. I have so many, I don't usually have a lot of big negative things happening. And that is kind of what I feel like is going on.
Yeah, it's.
But I have some great things too. The podcast is going great. I'm getting great reaction from that, and everything else is good. But there's just some things where I feel like I'm losing my mind.
I sent a text to you last night, and I mentioned that we haven't done a show here in the last couple of weeks, and I said I'd just been in this funk, and I don't think it would have went well. You asked what was wrong, and I was like, just all of it, really.
Yeah, I have no health things going on, but yet my Kaiser, my health insurance, is trying to charge me $2,000 for being healthy.
Really?
And it's a long story. They denied my first claim, and now it goes to the state of California. My second claim, it's so crazy. This is the beauty of social media, is I'm very much about public shaming, not of people, but of companies. Like, I will go after companies loud and clear. And I went after my health insurance. And then one time they had an article by the CEO. So I put up the article about the CEO and wrote, "This guy is the criminal." And then turns out I have a fan that knows him personally and tagged him on it. And I'm still not sure if he saw it, but I was like, keep it up, man. Let him know, because if I don't get this bill waived, I'm going to have 20, maybe an hour on how much I hate Kaiser.
Wow. The insurance companies are just so shitty. And
they are. And, too, they keep saying to me, everybody's like, well, you'll be able to do payments. And I'm like, no, I will pay. If I have to, I'm going to keep going until there's no other people to complain to. But I will pay the whole thing, and I will cancel my health insurance, because I can't even, the thought of writing any checks to them makes me sick to my stomach. I've been with them for 25 years. I put over $300,000 into that company over my lifetime, and they're going to stick me with this. It's really, I'm just like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's horrible. I can't believe that. That's a lot of money to pay in too.
Yeah, and never been sick. Wow. Never sick. Yeah.
Just recently, I've had to go to the doctor, and I didn't want to, because before everything changed, I would just go to the doctor, and it was a $20 copay. And now I go to the doctor, and I have to pay the full price of the doctor visit until my deductible of $5,000 in 12 months is reached. And if I'm paying $5,000 to go to the doctor within a year, I probably have something that is seriously wrong, which I get that's kind of what it's for. But when I've spent a majority of my life paying $20 to see a doctor, it just seems fucked up. I don't know.
Yeah, and you know what that is? That's because you have catastrophic now, which I say when you're with Kaiser Permanente, it's all catastrophic. It's never, never good. But there's a thing that I'm going to get next year. It's called healthcare savings account, and you have a lot more flexibility. I don't know if your listeners know, but I have my mom's getting a colonoscopy, so I have to remind her right now to drink her second glass of laxative. Hold on.
Okay.
Ooh. Why is this here? Ma, time for another one. Okay. Okay, everyone's good. For some reason. They put a ladder right in front of the door, so when I open the door, I hit a ladder.
Oh. That's awkward, huh?
It is awkward. It's awkward. So anyway, so that's my health insurance woes. And then today I had to fill out the state application for them to go after Kaiser, and it was very confusing, and it's just overwhelming. I hate earthly things.
I feel you there. Speaking of things that aren't earthly, you have your new podcast out called Paranormal Karen, and
I do.
That comes out on Wednesdays, right?
No, that Karen and Karen Can Read comes out on Wednesdays. Paranormal Karen comes out on Fridays.
Oh, okay.
And I got 3 or 4 episodes up now. And I think people like to wait and make sure you're not a one and done.
Yeah.
And now I'm getting really nice emails, and people really like it, and they're sending their ghost stories, and because I always try to have once a month, I have me and my sister read ghost stories that people send in. Mm-hmm. But I'm so excited about it. It's growing great. And I was in Ann Arbor, and I'm about 2 months ahead. I got about 2 months in the can. So I read that they have fairy doors all over Ann Arbor, where you go to a business and they'll have the regular door, and then right next to it is a teeny exact replica that is for the fairies. And it was so cute. And I was called the guy on a whim, and I go, "Hey, I'm in town. Can I interview you tomorrow?" He was so nice. "Hi, honey." He was so nice. And it was one of my favorite interviews. It'll be the Ann Arbor Fairy Doors. I think that's next month.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. What was I guess if people want to know what the doors are about, they need to listen to that episode. But
yeah.
One thing though, I guess I got 2 things that I want to ask you about your podcast that I heard you talk about, and I wish you would have talked about it just a little more. One was I heard you briefly mention on your show that you accidentally drove to Mexico with your dog. What's the story behind that? Because you said it, and then I didn't find out why. It was killing me.
I have to remember to do that on there. We went through a wormhole. It was very odd. It was such an odd story. I was with a friend of mine, and we were driving. I was driving to Yuma. And when you're coming from LA area and you're going to Yuma, it's a straight shot down. You take a left before you get to Mexico, and you go right over to Yuma, Arizona. And I was doing a show there. And my friend was a medium. And whenever her and I got together, it was always kind of funky energy. And we stopped for gas. I filled up my gas tank, and I got a receipt. And then we were driving. And then as we're driving, the CD started to skip. The CD that was inside. And we both looked down at the CD, and then we looked up, and there was a huge wall that we didn't recognize. And she started screaming, "Oh my God, we're in Mexico. We're in Mexico." And we did not cross any border crossing. I used to live in San Diego, so I know every street we would have had to pass to get there. We did not pass any one of them. And when we got over the border, she called her husband, and we figured out the time between the gas receipt and the time she called her husband. And there was absolutely no way we could have made it in that amount of time. So, and everybody that we knew, our paranormal friends, said, they always say there's a wormhole down the 5 on the way to San Diego. And so that was what happened. And then months later, there was a big story in San Diego about a Marine that had a whole bunch of guns in his trunk. He was going to a shooting range or something, and he ended up in Mexico, had no idea how he got there. And he stopped and told the Mexican police, he said, "Just so you guys know, there's a whole bunch of guns in the trunk. I'm not here to do anything. I took a wrong turn," or whatever. And he actually ended up in jail they had to get him out. It was very hard to get him out.
I think I remember that.
But it was very strange that happened almost the same time that ours happened. But it was just this crazy, that was insane. So that was scary.
just so I can clear this up, because in my mind, you got to the border of Mexico and then turned around. You actually were in Mexico.
Right. The only way we had to get off the freeway, and the next exit off the freeway was like Tijuana. And
Wow.
it was, yeah. And here's what's really weird, though. You don't just drive to Mexico. There's borders.
Yeah.
Like we never, and if we had flown through a border agent, we would have had 17 cops behind us. There was nobody there at all.
Yeah, because they stop you, they check your passport and ask you a bunch of questions, and it's
That was
not as
one of
simple
the-
as just driving across. That's crazy. I'm glad I asked that.
Yeah, and when Courage was in the car, and I don't really hang around with that person anymore because she got really nuts, and she tends to be a little racist. She kept saying they're going to kill Courage, and I was like, why would they kill my dog? She really freaked out, like it was a situation where I almost had to slap her because she was so hysterical.
Uh-huh.
And it was very odd because I asked the animal communicator, I said, we're not going to tell you what happened, but what did Courage see? And Sonia said, Courage showed me it was like on TV when somebody's in one room and then they walk through the wall and they're in a completely different room.
When did this happen?
This was about maybe it was 6-7 years ago. It was a while ago.
Have you ever drove? If it was me, I would be driving all the time just to see if I could make it happen again. Have you ever drove that path to see?
I go to San Diego quite often, but believe me, I don't want it to happen again. It took us 5.5 hours to get out of Mexico.
How did you get out? Because I'm assuming you didn't bring a passport or anything, right? Because you weren't planning on it.
We explained to the guys at the border, and they were like, they were Americans, so they were just like, yeah, that's okay. So they let us with a driver's license. So that must be a common mistake, or you know what I mean, to be in Mexico. A lot of people go to Mexico and don't think about passports because that was sort of actually at that time that was a new law, and it had just gone into order because I believe it used to be you just needed your American driver's license.
Yeah, because I've been to Canada a lot, and I just gave them my driver's license. I never needed a passport back then.
Yeah, and Canada has changed now too, hasn't it?
Yeah.
But that was a pretty crazy trip.
Yeah, I would say so.
I had to tell the booker that I had an accident because I was like, I can't tell him I went through a wormhole. And I walked into the gig at 5 to 8. The gig was at 8. I walked in at 5 to 8.
Yeah, because I think he would probably say, I don't think you went through a wormhole. I think you ate the worm at the bottom of the bottle. Just
exactly.
Just get yourself together. Come back tomorrow. We'll work on it.
Exactly. Yeah. That's right. But yeah, that was a very strange time.
On your podcast, you also said that you've performed in 45 out of the 50 states in the U.S. Which ones haven't you performed in, and why?
Okay, I think that's actually up to 48 now. I haven't performed in Tennessee, and let me think, what's the other one? North Dakota.
Really?
And really just haven't. I don't know anything up there. Don't know any gigs up there.
Okay. I could have swore I saw that not that long ago, but maybe instead of hearing it on your show, maybe I read it on a site.
Well, you know what, too? I probably had updated the wrong. I have to update my bio.
I just assumed one of them was Hawaii, one of them was Alaska, and 3 were probably Southern. Yeah, I was really surprised that those weren't 2 of them.
No, I've played those. Alaska is actually great. In fact, I'm trying to get back to Alaska.
Why do you like Alaska so much?
Alaska is just beautiful, and it's interesting, and it's just really neat.
I had some cousins that lived in Alaska, and they really, really liked it there. And
yeah, I like Alaska too. It's just a very cool place.
They ended up moving, and where they moved to, they bought a houseboat and lived in Hawaii. And
wow.
Yeah, I thought, man, that's a drastic change. I could see if you went to like North Dakota or somewhere somewhat similar, but a little different, but you just went a whole another direction. That was kind of extreme.
It's so beautiful there. Alaska's really great. And the people are really awesome, and they're always glad you came out. Well, I don't know any place I don't really like the people. In fact, Atlantic City was probably the only place that sometimes the people were really horrible. But everywhere else, I can't think of any place else where I don't think people are friendly or there isn't somebody nice to help you or, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, your podcast, Paranormal Karen, that's out now. People can hear it. You got quite a few episodes out. So I think you said 3, right?
Well, I should be up to 4. I think there's one bonus, and the reaction's been really good. I'm so thrilled and getting excited to just keep going. I have one coming up with, I call him Big Brain Dave. That's my ghost hunter friend, Dave Harvey. That's just a genius. And then I have a medium on, and then I have a really interesting episode about the Shanghai tunnels of Portland. That one I'm really excited about because it starts with the club owner giving me a tour of the tunnels underneath. And it was where they used to Shanghai people and sell them. And the people, they'd get them so drunk and drugged up, and they'd drop them through the floor of a bar. And they'd be in a tunnel where they'd continually be drugged until they woke up and they were on a ship in the middle of the ocean. As he was giving me this tour, I taped it. We were in the tunnels. And then after, it was so shocking to me. And I thought, who would sell another human being? And I met a comic that actually worked in an old age home when she was younger. And she worked, one of the women in the old age home was the wife of the guy that was the head of all that. And I got to interview her, which was even interesting. And then I went through the tape when we went through the tunnel, and we're only 4 minutes in. My friend Dave is helping me with it. And we already have like 3 EVPs. Like at one point in there, the electronic voice phenomena, at one point in there, the guy is talking, and just between his sentences, you can hear someone screaming, "Help me!" Just this horrible, it was fascinating, and it was horrible, and it's history, and there was so much to it. It was just really fascinating.
Before I let you go, when you're recording the EVPs, do you listen to it as you go, or is that something that you do after the fact? Because most shows that I've watched that have used those listen to them after the fact. So I think it would have to change how you feel while you're on the site if you heard them screaming out while your friend's talking, right?
Well, most of them, on that we were just doing a straight interview, but if you are doing it with a group, if you're doing like where you're sitting for 5 hours and ghost hunting, usually everybody will tape for 10, 15 minutes, and then we'll review the tape, and then we'll go back. But I hate EVPs because my hearing is not that good. So I have a hard time. So and it's so tedious. So my friend Dave was doing it for me, and he's just phenomenal. He knows what to listen for and what to do. So he was helping me with that. But usually when you're on a real long ghost hunt, but I was lucky that these guys, they are the owners of the club Harvey's in Portland. And I was lucky they gave me the tour. So we weren't stopping. We went 30 minutes straight. He took me through, and it was fantastic.
Sounds good. Thanks for being on today. I really appreciate it. I want everybody out there to check out Karen's podcast. Also check out her YouTube, because that's really good too. And she keeps the videos nice and short, and they're funny and really good time. So I like that.
Thanks, Jason. And I'm sorry it's so short today. It's just a crazy week.
No, you're fine. And I also want to apologize to the listeners for this being so short. And I hope I was coherent enough to make this okay. And because I'm just a few hours removed from everything, and I don't know. It was just,
I know it's that kind of week. Everybody, maybe everybody's relaxing, and this is the perfect amount of time.
I think the weirdest moment of it all, I finally came to, and I come upstairs and I go into the bathroom to look to see if I'm bleeding or anything. And then I just sat on the floor, and my wife comes in and she's asking what happened and stuff. And I just kept looking at my legs. And it looked like I had some virtual reality glasses on or something, and they didn't feel like they were my legs. So I had to kick my boots off so I could see my socks, just to confirm those are my feet. And I don't know why the hell my brain thought if I see socks, those are mine. If I don't, what the hell is that about? It was just, it was so weird.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
Again, I want to thank you for being on, and everybody out there listening, I want to thank you for downloading the show. Please download it again next week if I didn't chase you off. I swear I will hopefully be back to normal next week. If not, maybe there'll never be a show again. I don't know.
No, you'll be back. You're going to be fine.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for listening. Tell your friends about the show and leave a review. See you next time.
I can't tell them I went through a wormhole.